power. It's a concept that has captivated and terrified humanity for millennia. From emperors to tycoons, the pursuit of power has shaped civilizations. Few periods offer a compelling picture of power like medieval Europe. One figure emerged as a symbol of unparalleled authority, the Pope. How could one man command such influence over earthly and spiritual matters? To understand this enigma, we must journey back to medieval Europe, where faith was paramount and the Catholic Church reigned supreme. Imagine a world where towering cathedrals pierced the sky and life revolved around the liturgical calendar. Feudalism bound peasants to their lords, and kings ruled with an iron fist, often challenged by powerful nobles and the church. This was medieval Europe, a tapestry woven from piety and violence, ignorance and enlightenment. The Catholic Church served as the bedrock of society, a source of solace and guidance. From village chapels to St. Peter's Basilica, the Church's presence was ubiquitous. Its monasteries preserved knowledge, while its hospitals offered refuge to the sick and destitute. Yet, the Church's power extended far beyond spiritual comfort. It was a political force, interwoven with secular authority. The Church shaped every aspect of medieval life. At the apex of this vast institution stood the Pope. The Bishop of Rome, considered the successor to St. Peter, his position was imbued with both spiritual and temporal power, making him formidable. To the faithful, the Pope was God's representative on earth, his pronouncements carrying divine authority. His blessing could legitimize kings and launch crusades, shaping beliefs and behaviors. But how did the Pope acquire such immense power? Was it solely through religious belief, or did worldly factors play a role? To answer, we must explore the origins and evolution of papal power in the medieval era. We will examine the doctrines, conflicts, and individuals that shaped the papacy. To comprehend the Pope's power, we must grasp the foundations of his authority. It was not merely earthly dominion. The Pope's power emanated from the belief in his divine right to rule as the Vicar of Christ. This claim to spiritual supremacy traced back to the foundations of the Church. According to doctrine, Jesus bestowed the keys to the kingdom of heaven upon St. Peter, establishing a direct line of spiritual succession. The Pope, as the Bishop of Rome, was believed to be the earthly representative of God. He inherited a divinely ordained lineage stretching back to the dawn of Christianity. The belief in the Pope's spiritual lineage had profound implications. The power of the keys granted the Pope unparalleled authority in matters of faith and morals. He alone could convene church councils, define dogma, and excommunicate those who strayed. Excommunication was a fearsome weapon, a spiritual death sentence cutting individuals off from the sacraments. In an age where eternal salvation was paramount, the threat of excommunication held immense sway. The Pope's authority extended to entire kingdoms. He could place regions under interdict, suspending religious services and sacraments. Imagine an entire community deprived of the solace of the Mass and the hope of Christian burial. It was a powerful tool for bringing rulers to heel. The Pope's pronouncements on faith and morals were considered divinely inspired. This belief shaped the worldview of peasants and kings alike. The Church's teachings guided the lives of medieval men and women. The Pope's influence extended beyond the Vatican, shaping Europe's political landscape. Kings sought his blessing to legitimize their rule. Armies marched under his banner. The Pope's power would ebb and flow, challenged by reformers and secularism. Yet the legacy of papal supremacy in the medieval era continues to resonate. It is a testament to the enduring power of faith and absolute authority. The image of a king kneeling before a robed figure to receive a crown speaks to a time when power flowed from the divine. In the medieval era, no king could claim true sovereignty without the Pope's blessing. Papal coronation was a tangible manifestation of the Church's authority over secular rulers. The act of coronation was steeped in religious symbolism. The king, anointed with holy oil, was transformed into a divinely appointed ruler. The crown, placed by the Pope, represented both earthly power and the divine mandate to rule justly. By accepting the crown from the Pope, the king acknowledged the Church's ultimate authority. This recognition carried both privileges and responsibilities. The Papal Arsenal, Excommunication and Interdict. The medieval papacy possessed formidable weapons to enforce its will. Excommunication and interdict carried profound social and political consequences. These measures could isolate individuals and entire kingdoms, cutting them off from the Church. Excommunication was a spiritual death sentence, separating individuals from the sacraments. An excommunicated person was forbidden from receiving the Eucharist or being buried in consecrated ground. The social stigma was profound, turning powerful individuals into outcasts. For kings, excommunication could undermine their legitimacy and incite rebellion. Interdict was a collective punishment, suspending religious services in a territory. Imagine churches closed, altars stripped bare, and bells silenced, the spiritual life of a community ground to a halt, pressuring rulers to resolve the situation. The pressure on a ruler facing an interdict was immense. Gregory VII versus Henry IV, a clash of titans. The struggle for power between the papacy and secular rulers climaxed in the investiture controversy. The dispute centered on who had the authority to appoint bishops. Henry IV insisted on his right to appoint bishops, a practice known as lay investiture. Gregory VII condemned lay investiture as simony, arguing only the Pope had the authority. The conflict shook medieval Europe. Gregory excommunicated Henry, releasing his subjects from their oaths of allegiance. Henry, facing rebellion, made a humiliating journey to Canossa, begging for forgiveness. The image of an emperor humbled before the Pope sent shockwaves through Christendom. It demonstrated the potential power of spiritual authority over temporal power. A call to holy war. In 1095, Pope Urban II delivered a sermon that ignited religious fervor across Europe. At the Council of Clermont, Urban called for Christian knights to liberate the Holy Land. His words were a blend of religious zeal and political calculation. He spoke of the suffering of Christians in the East and appealed to knights' sense of honor. Urban promised a reward beyond measure, a full remission of sins for participants. The call to arms reshaped the political landscape of the medieval world. The First Crusade captured Jerusalem, establishing a Christian presence in the Holy Land. The promise of indulgences was a powerful motivator. Indulgences were a remission of the temporal punishment due to sins already forgiven. They were granted under certain conditions, such as acts of prayer or participation in a crusade. For knights, the chance to wipe away sins and secure a place in heaven was irresistible. Indulgences extended beyond individual salvation. By offering indulgences for military service, the Pope harnessed religious fervor for political ends. The Crusades served to consolidate papal authority and extend Christian influence. The response to Urban's call to arms was astounding. Knights, nobles, and peasants flocked to the banner of the cross. The First Crusade captured Jerusalem, establishing a Christian presence in the Holy Land. The Crusades continued for centuries, leaving a mark on East-West relations. They were a testament to the papacy's power to mobilize vast armies. The Pope's ability to direct armies towards a common goal was unmatched. However, the Crusades also led to internal divisions and religious intolerance. They ultimately failed to maintain control over the Holy Land. The Pope's spiritual authority was intertwined with the Church's vast temporal holdings. The Catholic Church was Europe's largest landowner, controlling estates, monasteries, and properties. These lands provided the Church with immense wealth and influence. Imagine fields, forests, and vineyards under the Church's stewardship. The Church's lands provided income through rents, produce, and taxes. Bishops commanded armies and wielded political clout. Abbots served as advisors to kings and played a pivotal role in cultural and intellectual life. The Church's wealth was not solely derived from its landholdings. A significant portion of its income came from tithes, a compulsory tax levied on the faithful, typically amounting to 1/10 of their income. Tithes were intended to support the clergy, maintain church buildings, and provide for the poor and needy. However, the collection and distribution of tithes was not without its controversies, as disputes often arose between local parishes, monasteries, and the papacy itself over their respective shares of this lucrative revenue stream. The collection of tithes was a visible reminder of the Church's pervasive presence in the lives of medieval men and women. From the humblest peasant to the wealthiest merchant, all were expected to contribute to the Church's coffers, ensuring its continued operation and influence. The vast sums collected through tithes funded the construction of magnificent cathedrals, supported the work of countless priests and monks, and provided a safety net for the poor and destitute. However, the Church's wealth, while often used for pious purposes, also attracted criticism, particularly as the lifestyles of some clergy seemed at odds with the vows of poverty and humility. The Church's wealth was a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it allowed the Church to fulfill its spiritual mission, providing education, charity, and spiritual guidance to the masses. The magnificent cathedrals adorned with breathtaking works of art served as tangible expressions of faith, inspiring awe and wonder in the hearts of believers. The monasteries, centers of learning and piety, preserved ancient knowledge and provided a refuge for those seeking a life of prayer and contemplation. On the other hand, the Church's wealth also attracted criticism and fueled accusations of corruption and hypocrisy. Critics pointed to the lavish lifestyles of some high-ranking clergy, their opulent palaces, and their taste for luxury as evidence that the Church had strayed from its spiritual mission. The sale of indulgences, a practice that seemed to commodify forgiveness and salvation, further tarnished the Church's reputation in the eyes of some. These criticisms, while often exaggerated, highlighted the inherent tension between the Church's spiritual authority and its temporal power, a tension that would eventually erupt in the Reformation and reshape the religious landscape of Europe. At the heart of the investiture controversy lay a question: who had the ultimate authority to appoint bishops? Kings and emperors asserted their right to appoint bishops, a practice known as lay investiture. Pope Gregory VII viewed lay investiture as a grave threat to the Church's independence. He argued that only the Pope had the spiritual authority to appoint bishops. The clash between these two unyielding forces, Pope Gregory VII and Holy Roman Emperor Henry IV, escalated into one of the most dramatic confrontations in medieval history. In 1075, Gregory issued a decree forbidding lay investiture, a direct challenge to Henry's authority. Henry, enraged by what he perceived as papal overreach, responded by convening a synod of German bishops who declared Gregory deposed. The gauntlet had been thrown, and what began as a dispute over church appointments quickly escalated into a full-blown power struggle that shook the foundations of Christendom. Gregory, wielding the spiritual authority of the papacy, excommunicated Henry, releasing his subjects from their oaths of allegiance and effectively crippling his authority within the Holy Roman Empire. Henry, facing rebellion among his own nobles, found himself in a desperate situation. Realizing the precariousness of his position, he undertook a dramatic and humiliating journey to Canossa in Italy, where Gregory was residing. There, in the depths of winter, Henry stood barefoot in the snow for 3 days, clad in sackcloth and ashes, begging for the Pope's forgiveness. The image of a mighty emperor stripped of his power and prestige, humbling himself before the Pope, sent shockwaves through Christendom. The confrontation at Canossa symbolized spiritual authority over temporal might. The investiture controversy continued for decades, a complex and often bloody conflict. It was not until 1122, with the signing of the Concordat of Worms, that a fragile peace was reached. As the medieval era gave way to the Renaissance, the Pope's absolute authority began to wane. The rise of powerful monarchies, new religious ideas and secularization challenged the Church's dominance, yet the legacy of papal power continued to resonate through history. Grand cathedrals and castles stand as silent witnesses, whispering tales of faith and ambition. The echoes of papal pronouncements can still be heard, a reminder of when the fate of nations rested in one man's hands. The medieval papacy left an indelible mark on Western civilization. It shaped Europe's political landscape, influenced art and culture, and left a legacy of spiritual and temporal power. The story of the Pope in the Middle Ages is a journey into faith and authority. It continues to fascinate and challenge us, reminding us of the enduring power of belief and the quest for meaning.